Welcome back to the Global Goals Studio. Our guests are Yo-Yo Ma and Russlynn Ali, and the discussion on the table is education. Basic school resources continue to be out of reach for many students and teachers, obviously in America, but nowhere more so than in Africa, where basic resources like electricity, drinking water, hand washing facilities, and the internet are far less available compared to the rest of the world. Now, Ms. Ali, I know your expertise is related to American schools, but a safe learning environment is really universal. This is Global Goals Week. We're talking about the UN's Sustainable Development Goals for all countries. How should this inequity be addressed?
Research is quite clear of what makes the biggest difference when it comes to educating a young person. It's the quality of the instructor in front of the room. Ensuring that we have a pipeline of teachers, that they are trained. With technology now, we can close that perpetual teacher quality gap. With the use of a device, you can ensure that every student has access to world-class instruction, world-class pedagogy. You know, Richard, change of the magnitude that we seek, that the development goals promote, requires a cultural shift. And we have the opportunity now, based on what we know, what makes good schools work, to develop the civic will to get it done. Schools need to be a hub of community no matter where they are located. They need to prepare young people for the demands of the economy in which they will reside. The biggest issue is getting the civic and political will to put in the resources, to put in the infrastructure, to make educating all a priority for any country to thrive.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ali. And Mr. Ma, full disclosure, I'm a huge fan of your music. I studied it as a student of music and arts, but unfortunately, music and arts is so often the first tools to be cut when budgets are lifted. But can you just talk about what are your fears and hopes going forward for arts education as schools struggle to go forward?
Well, I think one of the things that I'd like to put music and art and sciences together, because they actually share the same values. And I think of music and art and science as actually the scouts of society. And what do I mean by that? I mean, like, you know, if someone can devote 50 years to inventing the tools to measure gravitational waves, really, what is that used for? Well, you can say the same thing for music or for art. But guess what? I think the values, seeking truth, building trust. You can't build, you know, a giant collider without having hundreds of thousands of people believing that it's worth doing. And building trust. Gen Zs don't have high trust in countries, in institutions, in government. We have to rebuild what has been broken. And so trust, and finally service, because the purpose of all of what we have that we've invented, our political systems, our economic systems, we invented this. And in fact, we need to evolve this. And our country is an experiment, this great experiment in progress. And if you stop the progress, you stop the country. And it's the same thing with music and art. The music and art actually allows us to join the head and the heart. Now, we know from neuroscience that you cannot make good decisions if you use only the head or only the heart. But if you actually join the two together, you have a greater chance of making good decisions for humanity as well as for our immediate future.
That's very well said. On that note, I want to thank you, Mr. Ma and Mrs. Ali. I just want to thank you so much for joining us on Global Go Studio today to talk about the power of education.
Stay with us. We're going to take a short break. You're watching the Global Goal Studio.
This year, teachers are learning new ways to teach. Parents are learning to lesson plan. and young minds are learning a new normal. This year, we are all students. At Verizon, we're enabling the education that students deserve. With credentialed teacher training, free lesson plans for parents, and tech-enabled solutions for schools nationwide, it's Citizen Verizon in action, our plan for economic, environmental, and social advancement.